They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.
Hey, thank you, Gigi. If you haven't noticed, we're at the Masters, and we're blessed to do our trainings here for over 28 years. I have not missed a week for these trainings, and I'm blessed to do today's training on when failure becomes the strategy. How does failure become a strategy? And one thing I know in common of human beings is we all fail, especially those who want to learn and succeed, grow and expand. We can't be afraid of the lessons that come from that which we did not expect. Life is full of evidence. Most of that evidence is non-existent, or it's contrary to where we want to be or better. It's that simple. And so if you don't elevate your awareness to the fact that all evidence today is not where I want to be tomorrow and is not indicative of me being there, therefore I have to do 2 things. I have to learn from it, extract the lessons, the light, and the love from it by being grateful. But 2, I have to have faith that there's something bigger than me that loves me, protects me, promotes me, and perfects me more than my mom. If you see all the evidence today that's circumstantial in its nature as that, it becomes a strategy. And we're going to go through that today. Before I do that, I always like to include the community of where we are and what we're doing. Currently, we're at the Masters. So if you are close to Augusta, Georgia, come and visit us. We'll be with John Daly, Von Miller, Courtney Epps, the amazing Frank Perdomo, Dr. David Pascal, and many, many. Scott Ryan was here. He's a little bit tall, but besides that, we love him. But he's here as well. We're in 200 cities or more a year. And we invite everyone. We do what's called a car wash with all of it. This is the Masters Mastermind we're at today live, but we'll do a car wash, meet up, holding court, VIP dinner for charity, panels, speeches, everywhere we go. And the next one, we're blessed to have the president of the Aspire Business Tour here, Nick Ham's here. We'll be with him in Phoenix next week. Gary V, the Sharks, Andrew Cordell, Nick, myself, all there with the #1 business tour in the world. Again, not just doing the tour, but it's meetups, holding courts, VIP dinners for charity, etc. Then we'll be in LA twice, once for a content mastermind and the other for longevity stem cell mastermind with 2 injections. We got the amazing Seth Berge is here. Looks like Burge, but he's a Berge. And come and join us. And then we'll be in New York after that. Then doing the same thing in New York, speeches, interviews, holding court, VIP dinners, and meetups for charity. And then back to Las Vegas for season 10 of Office Hours with that same car wash. Then back to New York. That's just 10 days. So 8 cities in 10 days with my family, friends, associates. Please join us. If you want to, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com or nick@dmeltzer.com. If you want to be informed or invited, we have a text community, area code 949. The next 3 numbers are 298. The last 4 numbers are 2905. Just as a quick lesson within the lesson, notice how I always leave my number. The biggest problem today is people leave numbers and nobody gets it because they talk so fast and then they're all bummed going, did you get his number? And so I always say my number twice, and I always say the area code is 858. The first 3 numbers are 298. The last 4 numbers are 2905. It gives people time, but it also helps them remember 949-298-2905. Be informed, be invited, use that. All right, we are going to do a training, and then we have a live Q&A. I know we have, tons of people on here. We are blessed to have over 500,000 people that have registered for our training. Now, that's what you do over 28 years. It went very slowly, and then all of a sudden. So from the first 2 people, and we doubled it over 28 years, that's how you get to over 500,000 people registered, right? So the last year, more than half of the people have registered just in the last year, and so on. And that's one of the bigger lessons in life. Let's get right to it. When failure becomes the actual strategy is our goal here. Most of us are conditioned to avoid failure. We hate it like the plague. And we see it as something that slows us down and sets us back or proves we're on track. What if failure is not the opposite of momentum or interfering with momentum? What if failure was actually the source of our inspiration and momentum? When we look closely at how real growth happens, it rarely comes from perfect conditions. It comes from friction, resistance, and from the things that are going not as planned. In fact, if you want to come up with a well-developed plan, it's guaranteed to make God laugh at you. True momentum is never built. When everything works, it's built through consistency, persistency, durability, determination, devotion, especially when things don't work out. Most people think momentum is speed. The real momentum is sustainability. It's our ability to keep moving forward, aggregating, accelerating, compounding the lessons that we've learned and adapting, learning, expanding regardless of the circumstances. That's why non-negotiable behaviors are so important, because they don't adhere to any circumstance. No matter what, I sleep a minimum amount of time every day. No matter what, I spend a minimum of time with my family. No matter what, I spend a minimum of time on my health. No matter what, I spend a minimum of time on my finance, my faith, the study of time and relativity. No matter what circumstances they are. And if the circumstances make it impossible, I double down the next time, reprioritize my non-negotiable behaviors, because I'm never stacking 2 losses. I make it a super priority. And that kind of momentum is created by how we respond to the natural reaction to failure. So it's a 3-step process that we're going to teach today, so we can make failure a strategy. Is that we're going to fail if we try. I'm going to repeat that. You're going to fail if you try. If you're going to do your best, you're going to learn lessons and have fun with it. That's the strategy. But if we do our best, we're going to fail. And you got to then, when we fail, we have a natural reaction to failure, because it creates fear. So we have the ego, and the ego says, okay, you failed. You have a need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, worried. This is how we naturally respond. And the strategy comes from how long are you going to respond in the wrong direction, or how long is it going to take you to get back into the right direction with the consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential? Failure will expose us to what success actually hides. How many people have you seen, like me, that my great financial success was hiding all of my real failure, which almost cost me my life, my marriage, my family, because my success was actually hiding the failure. And so as it shows us where we need to improve, we need to be strengthened at all times, just like a muscle. It strengthens over time where assumptions are wrong. So instead of asking how we avoid failure, we begin asking better question. How do we use failure as a strategy for our best self? Because when we can make the shift, we stop starting over and we start building forward. I want you today, as we go through these lessons, to stop starting over when you fail and start building forward with the lessons, the light and the love that comes from each and every one of the things that we do not achieve in the direction, the divine direction that we wanted. The first lesson, and if you like the lesson, or any of the lessons, the exercises, guides, my book, they're all free. David@dmeltzer.com. David means beloved. @D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant. David@dmeltzer.com. Lesson number 1 to use failure as a strategy is we need to know that failure creates awareness, not endings. That's all it is elevating. It's like intuition. It has no time. It's just like intuition that says, hey, dummy, this is going to be important to you at some time. That's what intuition is telling you. So next time you're at the craps table and God tells you hard 8, don't bet on hard 8 the next roll. Just know that God's saying, look, dummy, hard 8's going to mean something, but I'm not going to tell you it's the next roll. Because most likely if you do bet on the next roll, he's telling you to be aware of the hard 8 so that you learn the lesson that intuition has no time and neither does failure. It just creates awareness to the light, the love, and the lesson to get us to where we're supposed to be, somewhere better than we are today, in a divine direction, by using determination, discipline, in a devotional way, in a divine direction. And so we often view failure as a result, right? It's a scoreboard. We lost or we failed, when all failure is, not to be cliche, but all cliches are cliche because they've lasted the test of time. So I pay attention to cliche, but failure's feedback. That's the first strategy in awareness is, okay, I am aware that I'm supposed to be getting some feedback so I can expand, accelerate, and compound my success by what's deemed to be a failure. Failure exposes what success hides, as I mentioned, and gives us the awareness needed to improve, evolve, accelerate, aggregate, and compound exponentially. You'll hear me say accelerate, aggregate, and compound because those are the 3 characteristics of energy. And don't forget, money is an energy. Think about if you're in an activity that you get paid for, your goal should be to get paid. What better way to get paid than to accelerate the payment, aggregate the payment, and compound the payment? This is why money, and those who understand money as an energy and understand the 3 characteristics of energy are acceleration, aggregation, and compound. Okay. We experience a setback every single day in our business and personal lives and feel like we're losing momentum, when in reality, we've gained clarity on what's interfering with the source of momentum, which is inspiration, which is intelligence, intuition, and energy, which are infinite in their nature. You're just interfering with it. And that is what needs to be strengthened in order to dissipate, dissolve, or disappear the interference that may be energetically or genetically inherited. Right? That's where we get clues, patterns, and we make bad choices. Sometimes we're conscious of the bad choices, but it's genetically and energetically inherited. So we continually make these dumb choices. And addictions come from that as well. Positive and negative addictions, by the way. Being an addict doesn't necessarily have to create negative results, because consistent and persistent behavior creates the coincidences in our life, the coinciding of the universe. We just have to regulate And those who may have more an addictive or obsessive compulsive behavioral inheritance actually have an advantage. Just like dyslexia can be an advantage, just like being on the spectrum can be an advantage. We just take what seems to society as a weakness, move it to a different place, becomes a strength. For example, there's this guy that's the CEO of Investiture, and he keeps pointing out how short I am. I have very short legs and a normal sized torso. I'm kind of like a Oompa Loompa. Anyway, this is a huge disadvantage on a football field. This body on a basketball court is not an advantage. But to be the commissioner of basketball, this body's perfect. And on an airplane, who do you think will be laughing when they're in the middle seat? Scott Ryan? I don't think so. Right? Checkmate. Because I'll be traveling a lot more than he's playing basketball. And so we don't lose momentum from failure. We lose momentum when we ignore what failure is teaching us out of ego. I need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, and guilty. We're ignoring the problem. So we stay in our comfort zone. Comfort zones constrict, anxiety zone constrict, learning zones accelerate, aggregate, and compound. If you accelerate, aggregate, and compound your learning zone, it becomes the size of your anxiety zone. Now it takes much more to make you interfere with where you want to be or better. If you stay in the comfort zone, pretty soon you can't get out of bed. In fact, I've seen people that were highly functional, highly successful, get and stay in the anxiety zone, and they couldn't get out of bed. This is what happens. We want to stay in this learning zone. So failure will create the awareness, not just to stay in the learning zone, but where the learning zone is comparatively to the comfort and anxiety zones. They're not an ending. They're not a result. So we need to work on and practice every day how failure is an awareness, not an outcome, the same as intuition. God tells you hard 8, don't bet on the hard 8. Just elevate your awareness to how is hard 8 going to be relevant to my life? What light, love, and lessons am I supposed to learn? Ask ourselves immediately, what is this supposed to show me? How am I responsible? What is this attracting? What am I participating in a perception of? And what am I supposed to learn from this so-called failure? Failure creates awareness, not endings or results. If you like this exercise, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. The second lesson in using failure as a strategy is that fragility traps and slows momentum. So this idea of being fragile, and this could be, for those who have this perception, one of the difficulties that we see evolving in the younger people today is they're much more fragile because they've been spoiled by technology and ease. I laugh every time because I see an ATM machine, which is an out-of-date technology, and I still think to myself, all those Fridays standing in line, living paycheck to paycheck, taking literally half of my Friday night just because I needed that money to go out Friday night to cash a check. And when they came up with the ATM machine, I'm like, holy shit. Now I walk by going, irrelevant. Payphones. How many payphones you see in New York City? Right there, those new Qualcomm Wi-Fi hotspot with big advertising screen on it. Do you know how grateful I was when I had a calling card for a push button phone with 23 numbers so I could charge it to the company for long distance? Yeah. This is how fragility will trap and slow momentum. When we build success on perfect conditions, and as we are providing progress towards perfection, we become fragile. We become fragile and the systems break under pressure when the fragility is there. Your children especially will break under pressure if you don't develop them by challenging them, by allowing them to have an opportunity to fail. You cannot protect them. You can elevate their awareness. No, we provide caution for your kids. You don't let your 2-year-old run around a pool, but you let your 16-year-old drive a car and educate them on what the dangers are or what to be aware of when they're driving a car. We allow them to fail. We push them to go ahead and learn lessons and expand. And fragile systems break under pressure. They create inconsistency. And we know how important consistency is, especially in non-negotiable behavior. We can generate revenue, but if it's not repeatable, what good's the revenue? Or we can grow quickly, but without systems to support that growth, where do you think we end up? You can cut the line, but I know where you'll end up, at the back of the line. Optimization without durability creates the illusion of momentum. This is why systems in each and every one of these high performers that are here today at the Masters, they have systems, especially for their subject matter, topic, and expertise. Our gaming executive knows exactly those systems. Our stem cell expert knows exactly. Our miracle doctor, our astrophysicists, our architects of tax, right? The amazing healthcare leaders that we have. We all know the systems that have created sustainability and durability, not fragility, and allow it to be repeatable. We need to identify where success depends on the ideal conditions. Just like we move weaknesses to a different place to make them strengths, we identify where our successes depend on ideal situations. Then you know the value of that success. True success comes no matter how hard it gets. Strengthen our systems, which is easier today than ever, especially with the technology that's available at such a low expense. Battery life, processing speed, learning capability, voice applications. These are all things that allow us to perform even when things go wrong. How many systems do you have that are going to be there for you if there's no electricity? We got to think about that, because the fragility in your systems will trap and it will slow the momentum and provide what? Opportunity for those that do. Opportunities for those that do. Fragility traps and slows momentum. Lesson number 2. If you'd like that, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Get the guys' exercises and my books for free. I'll sign my book, send it to you, pay for shipping and the book. Not a problem. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Lesson number 3. When failure becomes a strategy, failure is not data and it's not emotion. So a lot of people will either use logic or analysis or emotion to solve a failure. Neither works, because failure is not an emotion and it's not data. It's an opportunity to improve, develop, learn a lesson, to become better. Emotional reactions to failure, this natural reaction to failure, will illustrate progress. When we treat failure as data, we accelerate learning and decision making. Sorry, I screwed this up. Failure itself is actually data of awareness. It's not emotion, right? So emotion and logic don't equate, by the way. So let me restructure this because I'm human. One of the biggest mistakes that I made in my life is I tried to out logic emotion. I would say, let it go, try to analyze it. Well, they're not in the same frequency. They're not equatable. And so, so many nights, especially when I was in law school and super stressed out, I would go to bed going, let it go. Don't worry, let it go. And I'd wake up telling myself, let it go. But things had grown arms and legs while I slept because I didn't put myself in a position to recover and access information that was going to be positive. But failure is data, right? That's where the lessons come. It's not emotional. So emotional reaction to failure slows our progress. And when we treat failure as data, we accelerate the learning, the lessons, and the decision-making, and making decisions aligned with our divine direction in a quicker manner will always lead to better progress, which is always what I want, right? The pursuit of my potential, better progress, acceleration, aggregation, compounding of those outcomes. So we have to be aware of not only the data, but how we react to the failure that we then emotionally launch ourselves, usually in the wrong direction. So instead of reacting emotionally to a failed process, we break it down objectively. We analyze it. We use the data, extract the insights so we can apply it immediately. And so we look for what? Data that are clues, data that are patterns, and data that are choices, decisions. So I'm always looking genetically, energetically, emotionally for clues, patterns to make choices. The choices I want are aligned with where I want to be or better. And it helps me figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. And also allows me to change the meaning of my past so that I'm less emotional. This is a big confusing thing to a lot of people I coach. We're so limited by the meaning of our past. Failures, mistakes, setbacks, defining moments, historical relevances, genetic and energetic inheritances, we give meaning to, and we forget that we have a superpower of being part of the infinite or God. We can give meaning to anything we see. That's why my bankruptcy has a completely different meaning today, 20 years later, than it did 20 minutes later. Completely different meaning. I mean, if one of you would have told me that me losing over $100 million, including my mom's house, was going to be one of the biggest blessings, promotions, protections, loves, and perfections of my life, I would have kicked you in the head. That's how the meaning I gave it at the 20-minute mark compared to the 20-year mark. The secret to life is, how can you take the appropriate meaning and move it to the 20-minute mark, which I've been able to do today. I call it a minutes and moments strategy. I know the clues and the patterns that I have when really shitty things happen, meaning they're not aligned or there's no evidence that I'm going to even get to where I want to be. I know exactly now how to put myself back at ease. Minutes and moments and dis-ease, back to ease, which is what Dr. Pascal does with his modalities and methodologies. He puts minutes and moments to put you back at ease instead of days, weeks, months, and years. So when, the famous pole vaulter, Dave and Dan, and he popped his hamstring and like he's out of the Olympics, all he did was take what was going to be 6 weeks of healing and moved it to 6 hours. You can do the same thing with your failure, right? Because every problem, every failure you have, the solution is already in that. It's just what? A lapse of time before you see the resolution. I call it a resolution. It wouldn't be called a resolution if the solution wasn't already there. It would just be called a solution. It's called a resolution because there's a lapse of time. So anybody that's at dis-ease, even physically dis-ease, the solution's there, and people like Dr. Pascal give you resolution faster. That's only value that he really does. He speeds up what's already there. And we do that when we look at failures data, not emotion, not energy and motion. So momentum grows when we shift from the emotional reaction, this natural ego reaction, which is built there to protect you. There's no saber-toothed tigers, so they pick less meaningful things. No dinosaurs, just less meaningful things like, haters, stupid things, people cutting you off, big danger, must get pissed off, tests, get really worried that it might get a B, right? One of my favorite, I like Cheech and Chong's, one of my favorite songs, right? What's it? Mexican American, like to go to night school, take Spanish and get a B. Yeah, you got a B, big deal. All right, as long as you create a non-emotional reaction to structured reflection. So how do we do that? Failure is data, not emotion. One, create a framework. The framework that I create, as everybody knows, is cancel, clear, connect, which is stop, drop, and roll. So I've created the understanding of the clues and the patterns of how I react to failure. And so every time I have a need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, instead of going with that and analyzing that, I just stop, say cancel, breathe, drop down to center, reconnect, connect to, recollect, remember, remind with God. And then I roll into my divine direction. Okay, where was it I wanted to be again? Was it I wanted to be flipping off that guy and raising my blood pressure, creating cortisol in my system, getting unfocused on how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people? Oh no, that's right. I'm here to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And flipping off that guy that cut me off is not going to get me there. And cortisol is not going to get me there. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin is. So I'm going to find the light and love and lesson through gratitude and use forgiveness to put me back at ease. So when my mind, body, soul is on fire, as a strategy with failure, I stop, I drop, and I roll. That's the framework. Use yours, use mine. I don't care. We cancel the emotional reaction, we clear the ego, and we connect to the lesson. The infinite is already there. It's a resolution. We're just accelerating, just like Dr. Pascal, just accelerating the lapse of time between the dis-ease and the ease, the problem and the solution. It's already there. We'll hear again from Dr. Pascal. He'll tell you, yeah, when I see a patient, it's already there. I just have to clear what's in the diseases between the health that's already there, the ease that's already there, the pain. I got to clear the pain. It's one of those reactions to the disease. Failure is data, regardless of what I said originally, not emotion. All right. If you like that lesson, David at dmeltzer.com. Happy to give you guys books and exercises along the way, as I always do. All right. Lesson number 4. Momentum comes from the systems, not the outcomes. Chasing outcomes creates inconsistency, interference, de-acceleration. Systems create sustained momentum regardless of the external circumstances. That's why non-negotiable behavior is so important, because you're pre-prioritizing 90% of your success. Sleep, health, family, finance, faith, the study of time and the study of relativity. Assign time 7 days a week, regardless of the circumstances. And then use the other 12 hours of awake time to do whatever you want. Add more time to sleep, add more time to family, add more time to finance, add more time to faith, add more time to the study of time or relativity, or do something else. You will be more successful than at least 99% of the people, because momentum comes from that system. It doesn't come from the outcomes. Instead of relying on one big win, we build repeatable processes that consistently, persistently pursue our potential and allow for time, emotion, and value to change. Because anytime you make a decision, anytime you come to an agreement with anyone, verbal, written, implied, with consideration, which means money or not, guaranteed instantly time, emotion, and value changes. If you work on an agreement with self, a decision, or agreement with others, whether it's personal, professional, written, implied, verbal, with consideration, without, if you incorporate the idea that I am allowing for time, emotion, and value to change, think how successful you'll be. Because we're not outcome related. We're systems related. When you allow for time, that's why I do memorializations, not agreements. That's why I guarantee everything that I can legally do without any binding. Now, there's things like taxes and real estate and other legal things you have to bind. But if I can get away with not binding anyone to anything and just guaranteeing it, I've allowed for what? Time, emotion, and value to change. So we make an agreement. It's time, emotion, and value changes. We still have an agreement. We just change the agreement because we're not hedging anything. We're not trying to control the future or an outcome. And so true momentum is created by what works repeatedly. And in order for things to work repeatedly, you have to take into consideration that time, emotion, and value change instantly after every decision and every agreement. Shift from asking what gives us the biggest win to asking what works consistently under the pressure that's created by time, emotion, and value changes. That will create the acceleration aggregation. Once again, momentum comes from these systems, not from outcomes. We don't attach our emotions to outcomes. We don't say, I'll be happy when. We always say for the sake of what, which applies our why to why we're doing it, not looking for the why or looking for an outcome. I'll be happy when. If you ever say, I'll be happy when, you'll never be happy. I promise. Never. No matter how much money, you'll always want more. It just doesn't work. All right. If you like momentum comes from systems, exercises, guides, or my book, David at dmeltzer.com. Lesson number 5 of utilizing failure as a strategy: durability drives long-term momentum. And once again, things happen very slowly and all of a sudden. Long-term is your understanding of infinite time. Because in order to understand long-term, you're putting it in the context of the human experience, which is what? Uncertain, 1, 2, determined by bookends of your heart starting and stopping. That's it. That's the human experience. I will promise you the only thing that is certain within the context of long-term momentum is that you're guaranteed 24 hours a day. every single day of your life, and everyone experiences it differently, but it's the same man-made construct for everyone, except for the last day of your life, you'll be cheated. So when we understand time in the respect of durability, you start to realize that I should look at durability within the context of my behaviors every 24 hours, because that's the certainty I can rely on, which is why I can apply non-negotiable behavior to 24 hours by saying 12 hours of my day is non-negotiable, most of it's sleep, and 12 hours circumstantial, which requires prioritization and the lessons and failures that come from that type of system. Momentum only lasts when what we build can withstand pressure, change, and uncertainty. Time, emotion, and value changes. A business that adapts continuous growth, while one built on rigid assumptions struggles when conditions shift. And I just always think of either water or a palm tree in the middle of the desert by itself. Those are the two most powerful things because of their flexibility, because they can withstand uncertainty. If they're rigid, right, it'll break fast. That's why even in the human experience, I think that flexibility, stretching is one of the most underrated health, right? I have strength, cardio, and balance and flexibility. That's my routine 7 days. When people are like, you work out every day, that's not how. No, I recover every day and access information. I'm one of the best people I know at recovery. That's why I can handle so much energy and I access so much of it. But I spend as much time on flexibility and balance as I do on strength and cardio. Most people die, by the way, and Dr. Pascal can confirm this in the business he owns. Most people die because they fall. When they fall, they become immobile, and then everything else goes to dis-ease. Brain injury happens, back injuries. You're solving a long-term problem of staying alive if you stay balanced and flexible, because you're less likely to create a long-term death for yourself. Consistency, adaptability, process, and awareness create those durability of momentum. Focus on consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, not intensity. Prioritize the adaptability over certainty, commit to process over outcome, and choose awareness over ego. I'm going to repeat that. Choose awareness over ego. And this will allow you to identify the dis-ease quicker and shorten the distance of resistance by using wisdom and faith to create durability for long-term momentum. If you'd like those exercises, the guides, the stop, drop, and roll, the cancel, clear, connect, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. We're getting into the last lesson before we go to Q&A. So get your questions ready, team, online and in person, hopefully more in person, because I'd like to get some screen time here with my friends. Lesson 6 about creating failure as a strategy. We build momentum through failure. Avoiding failure creates the fragility. Learning from failure creates strength and develops our skills, develops our knowledge, and develops our desire. Those are 3 great things to develop, especially if you align it with what's doing well, what's stable, and you think is going to do well in the future. Skills and knowledge are your basement. So we were talking about my basketball skills. LeBron James' basement, and by the way, I was born in the same hospital as LeBron James and Steph Curry. So I really thought I was going to be the commissioner of basketball. I thought I was destined. But LeBron James' basement is higher than my potential. And this is where we can not only get confused in our own journeys, but also in inspiring our children. My mom was one of those moms. You can be anything that you want to be. Yes, that's true. And how many lifetimes it would take me to be better than LeBron James at basketball? If I stayed consistent and persistent in the pursuit of my potential in basketball, it may be a million lifetimes, but I can get there. I know that to be true, but we're working in the man-made construct of time. So we have to guide our children and ourselves to say, okay, how much we love basketball, but my basement is so low. How much time do I want to commit to the pursuit of my potential of basketball? It's okay if I put in the time and know that My delta is big as LeBron James, even though I'm not even starting on the Jewish Community Center basketball 50 and over team. Right? People ask me all the time, man, you have an amazing life. Where do you think you reached closest to your potential? And I always say, absolutely in football. From the time I was 5 till the time I was 22 years old, I spent my attention and intention, my time, 365 days. I carried a football with me for years, sometimes in place of my books. And yet, I was a below average college football player. But considering my basement, my skills, my knowledge, that delta was huge. People were amazed, right? They would be far less amazed if I told her I graduated summa cum laude from Harvard, which so many people in my family have done, where still today I'm the only one that played college football in all of my family. So they're amazed. Because why? My delta is so big. And so we need to understand the skills and knowledge of our basement, align it with what's doing well, what's stable, and what we think is doing well. Also align the lessons for our children to say, hey, you love basketball? Let's do it. And I want you to do your best, learn lessons, and have fun. I want you to reach your potential. But you are 5'7", and I'm not saying you can't, but there seems like a really big delta from where you are, skills in your basement, to where you need to be better than LeBron James. Not saying you can't do it, but if you want to spend the same amount of time, equal to, or maybe even greater, studying physics, genetically and energetically, you're way up here, and it would take LeBron James 1,000,000 years to catch up to me when it comes to what I could do in physics. And that's okay, because we're all one and we're all part of that. So understanding running failure audits of ourselves, what's broke, what assumption failed, what wasn't tested, what would survive the 10-time pressure test, then build systems to ensure that we don't fail the same way again. Failure is not something we recover from, it's something we build from. Failure is not something we recover from, it's something we build from. We build momentum through failure. If anybody would like the exercise guides and books from today, please email me, david@dmeltzer.com, because failure becomes our strategy. Most of us are conditioned to avoid failure. We need to see it as something that that doesn't slow us down, sets us back, or proves we are off track. But failure is not the opposite of momentum. It is the source of it. If we see failure and create awareness, not endings, fragility traps and slows our momentum. Failure is data, not emotion. Momentum comes from systems, not outcomes, and durability drives long-term momentum if we build momentum through failure. When we step back and reflect on all 6 of these lessons, one thing should become clear. Failure is not what stops momentum. Ignoring failure is what stops momentum. Every setback carries information. Think about the word information. Inspiration, intelligence, intuition are materialized in what? Information. Every mistake reveals a gap. The gap or lapse of time. Every challenge gives us an opportunity to build something stronger, more durable, shortening the distance of resistance between us and where we want to be or better. The difference is not in what happens to us, but in how we respond, and understanding the data and how the emotions can interfere with where we want to be or better. When we react emotionally, we slow ourselves down. We create more resistance. When we respond with awareness, we accelerate, aggregate, and compound our outcomes. When we chase those outcomes, we become inconsistent. But when we build systems, we create sustainability. Over time, that approach compounds, accelerates, aggregates. It builds resilience, and resilience creates consistency. And consistency is what drives true momentum. So the goal is not to eliminate failure. Absolutely not. The goal is to use it as a strategy. Because when failure becomes part of our strategy, we stop starting over and we start compounding forward. This has been using failure as a strategy. Please, once again, email me if I can be of service or value. David means beloved at the first initial Meltzer servant. Let me be your beloved servant, david@dmeltzer.com. When failure becomes a strategy, happy to send you my book. Sign it, send it, pay for shipping and the book, not a problem. Time for my favorite part of the day. Ask me anything. We're going to bring up all of our friends here. Hopefully come up here, get on screen, ask your question. Who would like to ask the first question? Not everybody at once. 0 to 1's harder than 1 to 100. Scott, come on up here. You're going to have to lean down farther than others. This is Scott Ryan, CEO of Investiture. Check out Investiture. Change your bank, change your life. Come on screen here. Scoot on in. What question do you have for me?
So I appreciated the insights today, David, and then also ribbing me earlier about my height and such. So I think the lessons I learned today are a lot about good, like self-reflection, right? And self-work. But also to be successful and happy, it's a lot about the people around you too. So how do you apply those same, failure as a way towards success, but also amplify it around your support system?
Yeah. So there's 3 criteria that I look like and or look at, and notice I have a system or a framework just as applicable to what we're teaching. So the first is, when I'm in the midst of these failures, I, number one, always have to do a timing and risk tolerance analysis. Okay. You know better than I, being a finance or a fintech person, that the biggest mistake people make in financial literacy is not knowing their timing and risk tolerance. And the reason is that, again, that failure will create resentment, guilt, or interfere with the future success, the growth that's necessary. And so growth won't happen if you don't know your timing and risk tolerance. And the example I use is, if I buy a lottery ticket for $2 and I know Saturday at 8 o'clock, I have a 1 in a billion chance to make $500 million, and I lose my $2 on Saturday at 8 o'clock, I'm disappointed, which never stops me from learning. But if I don't know my timing and risk tolerance, I may be resentful, guilty, angry, frustrated, and separate, and I may not grow or learn anything. And so first, especially when accordance to keeping everyone in our support system, is that's part of the timing and risk tolerance analysis. But if I'm all by myself and I have nothing to lose, that's different than if I'm a multimillionaire and I lose over $100 million and go bankrupt when I have a wife and 3 daughters under 10. How does that happen? Well, because dummy didn't do a timing and risk tolerance analysis and allowed, right, all of these exterior things that I thought I was in control of, and yet that failure became the lessons, et cetera. So timing and risk tolerance is a big thing. And then according in how to do that assessment to have the support system is, I use 3 criteria: relativity. So I'm going to consider in my timing and risk tolerance analysis, how relative is this person to me, right? Just because, for example, another thing that deterred me from expanding in my success was I don't know why, and maybe some of you, I wanted approval, validation from my high school friends. Mm-hmm. So I was making really dumb decisions based off of the relativity of people that really weren't relative to me anymore. Right? I wanted to show them how rich I was or whatever. Stupid. So relativity, association. So I may be in the same association as you, the church or the business, and associated in some way. A lot of times we don't have the right analysis, prioritization, or timing and risk tolerance to the association. And then one of the most interesting ones, Scott, and it applies to even what you do in sustainability and our climate investments as Investiture, what you do is understanding feeding. I used to say, feed that feeds you, kill that, or fire that doesn't, that bleeds you. But I didn't understand that a lot of things that bleed me feed me. Mm-hmm. And when it really came to my awareness was when my mom got sick, because I realized, wow, not only did I bleed my mom, which fed her more than anything else in her life, but now my mom was bleeding me financially, emotionally, spiritually, every day as she got sicker and sicker. But that was feeding me more. And so understanding the feeding aspect in this analysis of the support system, you have to do a timing and risk tolerance analysis.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it's your support system changes throughout your life. You don't need to get fixated on who's known you the longest. It's right. Who's relevant for your today and your future.
So smart. Relativity is not length of time. Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right. This only works with people coming and asking questions. Who's up next? Come on up, David. This is Dr. David Pascal. I referred him into the training. He's the miracle doctor and the one that understands ease and dis-ease. Welcome.
Hi. Good to be here.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
How cool is this?
Yeah, that's so awesome. So we all of us here and out there online, we all have goals that we would like to achieve, all have dreams that we want to move forward to. But at the same time, we all also block ourselves or slow ourselves down from achieving those goals. What would you say is one of the biggest things that we can do to keep ourselves moving toward the goals that we want so that we can have the lives that we dream of?
Yeah, I'm a huge goal setter. It's just the goals that I have are different than what they were before. My goals before were based off of man-made constructs. I want to make $1 million by December 31st. That's based off of man-made constructs. Instead of, I want to make twice as much money as fast as I can for the sake of helping more people. It's a whole different philosophy. And so every day I have non-negotiable behaviors that's based off of doubling the amount of money I can as fast as I can for the sake of helping more people. Every single day I have non-negotiable behavior, but I also, all my negotiable circumstantial behavior also is aligned with doubling the amount of money I make as fast as I can to help as many people as I can for the sake of helping many people as I can. Therefore, my perspective is, what am I doing to interfere with that each day? What am I doing to interfere with that? What am I saying to interfere with that? What am I thinking to interfere with that? What am I feeling to interfere with that? What am I believing in a Napoleon Hill sense to interfere with that? And then once I realize that I'm interfering with doubling the amount of money I make as fast as I can, I stop, drop, and roll. Put myself back into the divine direction by using discipline and determination in that divine direction, which is defined as devotion. I'm devotional about my day. I'm applying my why, which is necessary as a component of being devotional, not disciplined, not determined. People get confused. I coach so many people that are extremely disciplined and determined, but they want to know why they're not doubling the amount of money they make as fast as you can, which you have done. Quadrupled it as fast as we can to help other people for the sake of helping others. But I tell them, you're so determined and disciplined about working, you're forgetting to make money. You're so disciplined and determined working, you're forgetting to spend time with your family. You're so disciplined and determined working, you're forgetting to be healthy. So let's start over and say, I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am worthy. Let's figure out what you're doing to interfere with it. Do you have a problem seeking what's given? Do you have a problem receiving? Do you have a problem asking? Because these are all things that are interfering with you doubling the amount of money that you can make as fast as you can for the sake of helping others. And so when we understand the divine direction, aligning it with what we do, what we say, what we think, what we feel, and what we believe, and aligning the meaning of the past, the lessons from the failures applicable to today's training, we all of a sudden shorten the distance of resistance by using that wisdom, the lessons from the mistakes, and faith that we don't know what we don't know, faith that we're being protected, promoted, loved, and perfected, even though the evidence isn't showing us that. And that's how, and I'm blessed to have people like you in my life that are proving that it's not just me. It's literally the thousands of people that I've impacted in this way by accelerating, aggregating, and compounding their outcomes for the sake of what they desire. That sound fair?
It does.
Thank you, my brother.
Awesome.
Check out Dr. David Pascal. He's the miracle worker. We're awesome. All right. We are rocking and rolling. We got time for more questions. Anybody in the crowd? Everybody shy today? Nobody wants FaceTime? Come on up. All right. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So I love that you keep talking about being able to receive and ask for help. And incidentally, my word for the years for 2026 is receive.
I love that.
So I've identified this big challenge that I have with myself of being able to ask for help and then receive what's actually available to me. So what's the one thing that you would recommend to me to be able to alleviate that fear of asking for help or more importantly, receiving what's available?
Yeah, two different things and two pieces of advice. So first of all, in the respect of asking, when we have faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone, asking becomes easy. Asking becomes easy. So if I was sitting here at lunchtime and I had 1,000 hamburgers, which is more than enough hamburgers for everybody here at the mastermind, I don't think anyone would be worried about asking or receiving hamburgers from me. So if you had faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone, you would have that same energy. Of course, I'm going to ask, because not only am I being helped, but I'm helping out David because he has more than enough hamburgers. And this is a shift in the mindset. The other thing in the receiving part aligned with the giving is something I mentioned earlier that helped me so much is I'm the chairman of Unstoppable Foundation, as well as Napoleon Hill, as well as Chief Chancellor of Junior Achievement. But Cynthia Kersey, who wrote the Unstoppable book and is chairman of Unstoppable Foundation, when I became chairman, she said, you know, you're giving so much to these people by asking them for help. You should be so happy that you're giving so much by asking them for money and asking them for, and that's when I started to realize that when we're able and capable of helping other people is when we're at our best self, our higher self, we're closest to God. And I'm giving somebody that by asking them. And my two favorite things to get to and ask is I want to know what you like and don't like about a subject matter topic or expertise, what you know or don't know about a subject matter topic or expertise, or what's working for you about a subject matter topic or expertise. Once I know that information of what you like, don't like, what's working, not working, what you know and don't know, I can ask two questions that'll change your life. One, would it help you if? And two, do you know anyone that can help me? That's the infinite loop. This is when we live in abundance. This is when we literally have faith that I give more, be given more, receive more, ask for more than more. So I can give more than more, be given more than more, receive more than more, and ask for more than more than more. That's how you end up on your last day that you're being cheated some of the hours of living in a world of more than enough of everything. Not a zero-sum game like most people when they get old, where they've given more because they didn't like to receive. I'm not terrific at math, but if you give more than you get back, you're going to end up at zero. No matter how good, kind, generous you are, you're going to end up at zero. One last thing to realize, money and time are man-made constructs. Time is infinite, but in the human experience, time, 24 hours, is man-made. It's from the particle light from the sun hitting the earth and determining a mathematical equation of 24 hours. It's math. It's man-made. Money is man-made. It's a man-made construct. I'm just going to put this out there because I believe the more you give, the more you receive in the infinite. The more love you give, the more you receive. The more forgiveness you give, the more you receive. The more kindness you give, the more you receive. But in no world, anywhere in the man-made constructive of time, in your lifetime, if you believe the more money that you give, the more you receive, you are high. It's the same as me saying this. The more pillows you give, the more pillows you receive. Bullshit. That's not happening. No, the more you give of yourself, the more you receive from others, but not in the man-made construct of the exact materialization, monetization, or information that you're giving. That would be a very frequency incongruency. There'd be almost frequency impossible to give an exact form and get an exact form back. But in the infinite form, kindness, generosity, all love, forgiveness, it's coming back, I promise. And yes, if you give pillows away, you'll receive some other form back, right? Because giving is infinite. But people get so confused. And that's why the kindest, most generous people like you, first responders, teachers, moms, single moms especially, a doctor, like all these people, they give so much and they wonder why they don't have anything when they die. Material. Because it's material, it's man-made. But they like my mom died with an infinite amount of love, generosity, kindness, forgiveness. It chokes me up. Surrounded by it because she gave it all away, but she could never figure why she was broke all the time because it was in form, material, monetized. Thank you. Sorry for getting emotional. Anytime. Thank you. All right, we got time for one question. Hurry up, get up here, my brother. All right. Best jacket in the house. Can you go, bah? Do you feel sheepish? Don't feel sheepish. What's your question?
Okay, so I'm also a substitute teacher, school teacher.
Beautiful.
So how do we take all this? This is very high level information, right? So if I'm 8 years old, all this is going over my head.
Absolutely.
But
if you're 80, it go over your head too, depending on who you are.
But at the same time, it still applies to me as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
How do you make this palatable for the younger kids to understand it?
AI. Just take my content, put it in ChatGPT, and say, please translate this as if I'm an 8-year-old.
Oh, you were serious? Okay.
Oh, dead serious.
Okay.
I do it myself. I use it. So everything's at a frequency that I'm saying, which creates an awareness. That which vibrates equal to or less than you're able and capable of being aware of. And so one of the great things about AI is it can shift consciousness. So I take myself all the time and say, hey, could you take this and translate it as if I'm Einstein or Marianne Williamson or President Trump or whatever consciousness I want. Because right, you can't solve a problem in the same consciousness that it was created. I'll take things all the time, and depending on who it's going to, I can say, hey, elevate what I'm saying, because this guy's super smart. Can you make this palatable for an astrophysicist, for a substitute teacher, or 8-year-olds? And it does it. And then you can edit it a little bit, knowing your class, knowing the individuals. That sound fair?
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, by the way. All right, everyone. This has been our Failure as a Strategy Trainer. When failure becomes that strategy, please reach out to me if you'd like the exercises, the guide, or the replay for your family and friends to share. David@dmeltzer.com. Once again, to review our schedule of 200 cities, the ones coming up, come and join us here in Augusta. We got Von Miller, John Daly, unbelievable guests here in Augusta, Georgia. Come and visit us this week. Then out for the #1 business tour in the world in Phoenix, Gary V, me, Andrew Cordell, and the Sharks, Pace Morby, many, many more. We're on tour, the best business tour in the world in Phoenix. Come and join us. 2 different events in LA, our content mastermind and our stem cell longevity mastermind. Come and join us at SoFi Stadium for that. In Long Island, New York, once again, everything includes the car wash, meetups, holding courts, interviews, VIP dinners for charity. I want to thank all of our partners and friends for coming in New York. Then back to Las Vegas for season 10 of Office Hours in the Lobby of the Wynn. Thank you, SiriusXM, as well, for hosting Office Hours season 10. And then back to New York. Once again, if you want to come to interviews, holding courts, fireside chats, meetups, of course, speeches, masterminds, and VIP dinners for charity, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want to stay informed or invited to over 200 different things we do each and every year, there's a text community that will inform and invite you. Area code 949, the next 3 numbers, 298, the last 4 numbers, 2905, 949, 298, 2905. Please stay informed and invited. We appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. For over 28 years, we've been doing this training. Remember, most importantly, though, even though we're at the Masters, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Hit it, Gigi.
They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words: say thank you.